I'm Richard Pyatt. Welcome back to Creating Dementia Solutions. This is a Miles for Memories program. Check it out, milesformemories.org. Details and support for those living with dementia and those caring for them. This program talks about some of those solutions, one of which is incredible technology that's been developed. Have a look at it at milesformemories.org. Also look for Miles for Memories on Facebook, where you'll get alerted when these episodes come available. In 2026, we're talking with some familiar folks who have been committed to the Miles for Memories mission for some time, maybe some others who have joined more recently, but are in line with the mission of Miles for Memories. And we want to understand their personal stories. We want to understand their why for being so involved with Miles for Memories, and also talk a little bit about the notion of caregiving in the roles they play. Connie Skidmore's back with us now, one of the very dedicated volunteers for Miles for Memories. Hi, Connie.
Hi, Richard. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Glad to have you back with us. So, talk about why the mission of Miles for Memories resonates with you so much, and that you have been such a dedicated volunteer.
Well, I think backing up a little bit more even than before I became a dedicated volunteer, I can remember now, in retrospect, I don't think I knew then what was going on, but at one time my great-grandmother was having dementia problems, and we always just thought she was grumpy and disgruntled. And as a family, we do at reunions and things, laugh about great-grandma Russell and how grumpy she was and that kind of thing. But looking back at it now and seeing some of the things that I saw and listening to my grandmother talk about her, I realized that obviously she had dementia of some sort. She had 11 children. That could have had something to do with it. I don't know, but at any rate, she did. And my grandmother also had a dementia problem later on in life. And I did not notice in the beginning. My mother and my aunt both talked about it a lot, but every time I would see her, it would seem to me that she was doing fine, doing well. She took care of my grandfather when he was ill, and everything seemed to just be kind of the same. And then one day I went over to give her a home permanent, and she said, "I thought you were working today." And I said, "No, this is Saturday. I have the day off, and so I just came over to do your hair." And she said, "Oh." And a couple minutes later she said, "I thought you were working today." And I thought that weird. But about the fourth time she said it, I thought, I think my mother and my grandmother, or my mother and my aunt, are onto something. This is definitely a problem here.
Yeah.
And she ended up in I'm going to say a facility. The facilities at that time were not nearly as nice as the facilities of this time. So
much different.
It was a nursing home kind of situation. But she did as well as she could for as long as she could, and it was interesting. But then when my husband was diagnosed with it, I got to where I was thinking, this is a serious thing. I mean, it's something that we still kind of laughed about it with my grandmother, because she was a very funny woman. I mean, funny, humorous, not weird, but funny, humorous. And some of the things that she did, you couldn't help but laugh at it. So the seriousness maybe of the situation was still a little bit lost on me.
That's an interesting observation, that you were used to her being a certain way, and so this became woven with her personality.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And on top of the idea that back in that time, we didn't know as much as we do now about these things.
It's true. And I think, too, I think about it now, and I think if there's anybody who doesn't have someone in their life right now with a dementia problem of some sort, they will have. I think maybe just that we're living longer. I don't know. Maybe that there's something in the water or the food system, whatever. But you just see so much more of it now and hear so much more about it. And we talk about it. We didn't used to really talk about it. And so this kind of a situation, I think, is important. It's good for people to know that they can and should talk about it. And if they see or feel something, they should do what they can to investigate it. The person with the dementia problem isn't going to tell you they have that. So
they may or may not be aware of that.
Right. That's true. Or even if they are aware that there's something, they don't want anybody else to know it and they think they're hiding it. So
that's 3 people close to you with whom you were closely acquainted.
Yes.
And you can see how a personal connection like this would motivate you to want to be a part of an organization like Miles for Memories. Did that come during your role as caregiver and close relative of those folks?
It came after my husband's diagnosis, actually. And not strangely, but I was born and raised in Lansing and lived there all my life and did all my work there and everything until Bill and I met, and I eventually ended up in Battle Creek. And the reason I ended up in Battle Creek was because we were getting into retirement, talking about travel, the things that we wanted to do, and that kind of thing. And once I realized what his problem was and how things were going to end up, I also realized I was in a town where I really didn't know that many people.
Oh, my.
And I had to come up with something to, I had to come up with friends. I mean, my friends were all over the place by then, but I just didn't really have anybody here. And I talked with a friend of mine who was still in Lansing, but she was well into, had been for many, many years, interested in the Kiwanis Club. And she suggested that I join a club of some sort. And she was so gung-ho about it that she researched Kiwanis in Battle Creek and found me the place and came and took me to lunch there and all that kind of thing. And I joined. But one of the first speakers at our Kiwanis Club meeting a couple of weeks later was Sherry Sherbin. And so I got to meet Sherry and know her through that, and it found out what she was doing with the Miles for Memories program, and I thought, okay, this is the place that I need to be. So that was fortuitous.
Yes, the stars aligned, however you want to phrase that.
Yeah,
that's right.
It was very fortunate for me because this is a group that they understand the needs of the other people who are in the group, not just those with dementia, but the ones that they're working with, and it became very important to me.
So along those routes, those paths that you've been on, whether it was your great-grandmother, your grandmother, your husband, you became a caregiver at some point.
Yeah.
Even in small ways?
In small ways.
You can probably look back on it
My
now.
grandmother, probably, not my great-grandmother, but my grandmother, certainly, when I think about it now, once I realized what was happening with her and the problem, I paid more attention to it. And when she was in the facility, I went there often and visited with her. Her first words were always, "Did you come to take me home?"
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but we all made it through that. But yeah, that was caregiving of a sort. But I never lived with her when she had it, when she was going through it. So it wasn't a day-to-day kind of thing. But
and people, I would presume, just visiting someone and fielding that question or similar ones are in a caregiver mode.
Oh, yeah.
And we might not realize that.
It's difficult to answer some of the things that dementia patients may give you. You don't know how to say it. You don't want to say, well, now you remember that we can't do, because they don't.
Yes.
And that's one of the first things that tends to come out of your mouth when you do that. And even knowing that, I know that I did it with my husband.
Yeah.
once in a while they do remember it, I guess, but you just kind of forget that you have to learn to rephrase a lot of those things.
Yeah, so what's the approach? Just answer the question, I suppose.
Answer the question. If they say, "Did you come to take me home?" You say, "No, but maybe later we'll do such and such," and hopefully they'll forget that maybe later they were going to do such and such.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a management of sorts of your own phrasing and thinking.
Well, their thinking is not what it used to be, and your thinking isn't either, because you have to kind of turn these things around, and so anybody out there who's a caregiver who's going through some of this kind of thing, don't be too hard on yourself. It's hard to do this, to learn. You have to learn it, I guess, and we don't always have that opportunity.
Yeah. I presume that the connection to Miles for Memories brought advice and insight that you used.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What comes to mind when you think about that?
Well, the point came where I had to have Bill put in an assisted living facility, and that was a tough one. You hate to do those things, and you have to steel yourself that this is what absolutely has to happen.
Right.
The good news in that situation was he had been, because he got bronchitis or some sort of a thing, it was in the hospital for a little while, and then they knew in the hospital that there was this problem, but they had to discharge him because they're a hospital and they have to do that. Mm-hmm. And she said, you'll need to find some place. You obviously can't take him home and take care of him at home on your own.
Had that been obvious to you?
It was then, yes. It was then, because he couldn't. Yes, definitely. But it happened quite fast, really. I mean, there was a point where you knew what was coming, but it was a slow, and things were going okay, and then all of a sudden they were until they weren't, as they say.
Fast.
Yeah, and so that transition for me was honestly made so much easier by what had happened, that I feel a little times guilty about how simple it was for me to go from one area to another when I'm talking with other people who I know it's not that easy for them. But the hospital made it clear that I could not take him home, and with that I could make it clear to him that I couldn't take him home. So when we went to the facility, he thought, as much as he can think in his mind, that this was not going to be forever kind of thing.
I see.
And that he was still just maybe recovering. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, well, I say the longest time, it may not have been all that long actually, but I used to pick him up and take him home every weekend, and his sister and his son would come and we'd have dinner together and everything. And he would ask quite often why he had to go back. He didn't want to go back.
Sure.
And I said to you just a minute ago, you've got to remember that you don't say to these people, well, you remember. But that's exactly what I did to him. I said, now you remember, I told you there was a time was going to come when I wasn't going to be able to take care of you on my own at home. Yeah. And luckily, it seemed to reach him at that particular moment. How he internally handled it, I don't know, but he never did ask me that again. But I was also in a position where I could go to see him daily. A lot of people don't have that luxury, and I could spend as much time as he wanted. I could take him for a walk, I could take him for a ride, I could take him home, I could bring him back, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it sounds strange to say this, but if you have to go through that kind of thing, I was very, very lucky. And he did it well enough, too, that I think perhaps he was even lucky.
What makes you say that? What was lucky?
Well, because I've seen so many other people where they struggle, that they know they can't do this at home and they have to do something about it. And I knew I couldn't do it at home, but the situation that he was in, in the hospital situation made it easy. It made sense at that particular time for him. But so many other people don't have that. I mean, they're just at home and they're going through it, and they don't know when that time is going to come, and or
And it weighs.
what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Kind of thing they can't tell.
Well, I suppose if you think about the Miles for Memories education and thinking acumen, that your example is one in which we would hope it would go this way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Absolutely.
the resources were clear, the support was clear, and you were able to carry that out clearly without getting caught in some
Well,
of
and
the
it
things
was
that catch you up.
It was a timing kind of thing too. I mean, we were getting to the point where he didn't sleep well, and I therefore didn't sleep well. And when he did go to sleep, I still had I didn't know whether I was going to wake up and find that he wasn't there, kind of thing.
Sure.
So you have a lot of problems like that, and that's what most other people, I guess I shouldn't say most, but a lot of other people go through, in that they're not getting any rest, and it's making it twice as hard to go through this if they're there with them alone. I mean, Bill didn't have siblings living around that I could count on. His parents were gone. It was going to be difficult, and so that's why I keep saying I was so lucky.
Yeah.
It turned out good for me.
Well, you have, I would imagine, turned some wheels in folks' minds listening to you talk about that and talk about the path you've been on, and maybe given some folks some strength to give that their own thinking.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, and thank you for that candor and the way you tell your story.
Yeah, well, it's out there, and I guess maybe the more you talk about it, and the more you talk about it to other people, the more help you might get along the way.
Yeah,
So
makes sense. Thank you, Connie.
thank you.
Connie Skidmore, volunteer with Miles for Memories, as we talk about the personal stories of dementia this year, 2026, on creating Dementia Solutions. Again, milesformemories.org has lots of resources, Facebook page as well, Miles for Memories. Check it out there. You'll be hearing when we have these episodes ready to go and ready for you to listen or watch. I'm Richard Pyatt. We're back soon. Take care.